Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am chandrakydd presenting this session titled Better Than Starbucks. I'm sure you guys it's pretty chilly. So hopefully, I hope you got a hot drink. But we're going to jump into it and we're going to jump into this session because I'm excited about it. And yes, coffee is involved in the topic, but really and truly, it's digging into the importance of hospitality and customer service in adult education. It's really, really important that we have that in the classroom and literally on the campus, wherever you serve in whatever capacity. All right. So first of all, I want to just kind of just explain who I am and my background. So I have a bachelor's degree in journalism and public relations. So I want to be this big journalist, this big PR mogul, and then I got into education. I have a master's degree in adult ed and training. I am a returned United States Peace Corps volunteer. And I wanted to mention that because my 3 year service overseas is really what catapulted me into the classroom. I had no idea, no thoughts of being an educator or a teacher. But literally, the IT minister of IT literally gave me the keys to a multi-million-dollar building and said, like, open it. And here I am, like, I don't know, 23, 24-ish. And for me, I was overwhelmed but excited at the same time. And that really is what catapulted me into the education sector. I was the 2017-2018 ICE of Florida Adult Educator of the Year. Woo woo. And last year, the J.M. Lexus Black Achievers Award in Education finalist. So really have had a great run of a lot of accolades there. But currently, I am an ABE GED teacher at Atlantic Technical College, and I'm an author. And I've had about 20 years in the classroom from middle school level to adult ed to ESOL to post-secondary education. So I've had a good expansion of opportunities in the classroom. So the things that I hope to get through, I know time is tight. I got a 1 minute window of opportunity to share a lot of good insight with you guys. So things that I want to get through is I want to start with a video. Me personally, I'm a visual learner, so it's one thing to hear information, but for me, I have to kind of see it to kind of get it. So I made it a really brief video that I want to share with you guys so that you can see some of the things that I do in the classroom for and with my students. I want to talk about the difference between hospitality and customer service because there is a difference. And I encourage, for you to have both, not just in the classroom but at your educational institution, because if you can't even provide these things before they get into the classroom, they may not make it to the classroom. So this is something that you want to for students to encounter the moment they step onto your educational facility. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of an imagination exercise. We're going to have a little bit of a fun activity, and then we'll look at some scenarios. But overall, I want to provide some tips along the way. If you have questions, please do jot your questions as we go. Don't forget them. And that way, if you have questions, and I may not be able to see it in the chat box, so I apologize now, but I want to make sure that I address them. And if I don't address them during my presentation, which I may not, I want to address them at the end. And if I don't have time to address it, I'll provide my contact information for you so that you can send it and I respond to you, because I want to make sure I address all of your questions and comments. Okay. So here's that video that I promised to show. Before I click it, I wanted to, remind you guys to please just kind of just look at it, but also take a mental note of some of the images and some of the things that you see occurring in the classroom. You guys ready? Let's do it. Listen, I don't know. I mentioned I'm a visual person, kind of going through and seeing some of these these students, it kind of like it does a little something on the inside. I'm a big mama bear, and so and I tell the students all the time, once you're in the house, and I call our classroom, that's the house. Once you're in the house, even when you leave the house, you're still family. So they come back all the time and they visit me, and it's just amazing the dynamic that we have. So I just had to say that because it chokes me up a little bit when I see some of the faces. um, and I want to say this as well. And I'm a big on social media. Like if you follow my Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel, because students lose a little bit of that motivation along the way. So by providing, some content that helps keep them motivated, helps keep them focused, is really, really helpful to them. It helps me in a way to encourage not just them, but their friends and family members who may not have made up their mind to go back to school. But let's look at some of the things that you guys may have noticed when you were watching that video. At least I hope you noticed while you were watching. And I just want to shout out, I saw a couple of hearts fly across the screen. They're super cool. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate the love. But some of the things that I hope you guys notice. First of all, a coffee table. I have what we call, it's called the coffee table. And you notice lots of food, right? There was lots of eating. You saw where I mentioned doing this for 10 years. I literally have been serving food almost every single day, hot chocolate, tea, coffee, and usually some type of food or snack, or something, whether it's granola bars, or sometimes we even do hot meals with themes, all of that. And this is every day. Now, I know you're thinking, how is she affording this? Okay. Please note, um, it is student supported. It is supported by a community of people. Folks like Publix and Wawa's, they donate. My church gets donations from Publix. So there are people who literally set things aside because they know that I am literally feeding a multitude every day. And sometimes I happen to be in a store and see that they serve, and I'm like, hey, what are you going to do with that food? And they're like, oh, we'll just toss it, we'll get rid of it. And I'm like, hey, let me introduce myself, right? And then I'll say, hey, I teach and I help people get their GED. And then they'll say, oh, my sister got her GED, or I got my GED, or my mom, or something like that. And I'm like, well, hey, do you mind if I come back and get what you have available? And they're like, yeah, come back. And as a matter of fact, come back next week, so it really is something that people want to give. When they know what you're doing, and they see your heart in it, they don't mind. And students participate and they provide as well. So don't think I'm spending $1 million. It really is self-sufficient. And by all means, the thrift store helped me get a lot of the materials, the baskets and the coffee machines and all of that stuff. There are lots of ways to make it affordable. But you also probably notice smiles on the students' faces, fun. Yes, we were cha-cha sliding, we were having a good time, taking a mental break, a little bit of exercise, a little bit of break. You saw sharing, you see teamwork and games. And I don't mean just games, just games just to waste time. I'm talking about games that are meant to encourage them to communicate. There are a lot of students who, they don't like to talk. Maybe their English is not so great. They're shy or whatever. They need these soft skills. So creating and providing opportunities for them to even get competitive, it really, really boosts a lot of the skills that you're trying to teach, along with teaching them beyond the test. That has to be the end goal, not just the test, but beyond that, the college and career readiness. All right. You should have seen like presentations. I have my students do presentations. All right. They do collaborations. They work together. They do projects, research projects. I focus on the social studies and the RLA. So they're doing research projects and they're incorporating technology and things like that. You saw engagement. That's major. If you have young students like in their 19, 16, 17, engagement is hard. They're quick to jump on their phones, but when you are creating an environment and an atmosphere where they want to be there, the engagement goes way up. And I promise you, I did not ask anyone to pose, these were snapped while they were like not even paying attention. So and I wanted authentic photos, authentic representation of how they're really behaving and acting in the classroom, not poses, and them realizing that I'm snapping their photos. You notice maybe a family atmosphere. Like I said, once you're in the house, you're always family, and that makes it. My issue is not getting them to stay. My issue is actually getting them to leave. So even after they finish their tests, I'm like, why are you coming back? Why are you still here? They're like, they just love it. They love their classmates. They love their colleagues. They love the environment. They feel so welcome. All right. So let's talk about hospitality versus customer service. There is a difference between the two. All right. And I have to shout out my parents. And I gotta say that I gotta shout out my mom and my dad, because my mom and my dad are huge supporters. Even when I taught in the middle school, even when I was overseas, they are huge supporters. And my mother and my father, especially my dad, he's a Georgia guy. So he's, as soon as you come to the house, he's like, hey, you want something to drink? You want some iced tea? You're hungry? Yeah, let me fix you a plate. And he's like, no, I'm good. He's like, oh, I'll fix you a plate anyway. So, that sense of hospitality. And I realized years ago that when people feel welcome, it shifts how they behave in your presence. So hospitality is the friendly and generous reception of guests, visitors, or even strangers. In our case, as educators, it's our students. And this is something you want to extend day one, as soon as they walk into the door. Now, even if you are not a teacher in the classroom, maybe you are an administrator or an advisor. It might be something that it's a tangible offering. Okay, hospitality is a tangible offering. It's something you give to an individual, a physical something. In my case, I give them hot chocolate, the tea, a snack, something like that. All right. As a person maybe in the office staff, it might be, you offering them a seat, a nice, comfortable place to sit while they wait. Maybe offering them a bottle of water. All right. It's something that you can provide. Maybe it's a brochure or information that will give them something that they're seeking after. All right. The benefits of providing hospitality is that it builds a positive learning environment where students feel comfortable and motivated. So, as I mentioned, I'm making them do presentations. It's going to be hard for me to ask them to get up in front of their colleagues, in front of a bunch of people, if they don't feel comfortable. My coffee table gives them this space to kind of connect with one another and feel like family, so they don't mind getting up and talking and coming out of their shell and even messing up. And it's okay, because they know they're amongst family, not people who want to criticize them. It also encourages student engagement and success by fostering a sense of belonging and respect. They feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. All right. Now, customer service, on the other hand, is the assistance and advice provided by an individual to people who buy or use its products or services. So while hospitality is a tangible offering, customer service is actions driven by attitude. All right. Attitude plays a major part in customer service. All right. The benefits of providing customer service is that it enhances student satisfaction because they feel valued and they feel supported. All right. So If you were like me and you have students, the first thing they come in with is nervousness. Okay. They come in with all of this doubt. All right. All of these fears, all of this nervousness. All right. So we really should try our best to try to help them overcome that, because if they're scared and they're nervous, they're going to be quick to jump ship. Okay. If they're worried and they feel out of place, um, they're gonna it won't be long before they're feeling like, you know what, I can't do this. You know what, I shouldn't be here. This is not the place for me. So one of the things that I encourage you guys to do is greet students with a smile day one. And I have to emphasize the word smile. Okay. It makes a difference. There's a difference between me saying hello and hello. The smile warms it up. It makes it feel sincere, as though I and truly want them to be there at the moment. Even if the person is on the phone, when you greet them, smile. You'd be surprised. A smile can actually be heard on the phone. You can hear a smile on the phone. So, smiling day one when you greet students. Now, sometimes you're in the middle of stuff, right? Maybe you don't have a moment to kind of stop and have a conversation. Let students welcome new students. You know who your students are, who are really bubbly and nice and friendly. Kind of make them your go-to welcoming committee. So if I'm working with a student and, open enrollment, students are kind of coming and going, they may not be on time and they come in the middle of class or the middle of the week or whatever, and you might be working or doing something or teaching a lesson and you just can't stop at the moment. Have one of your welcoming committees. Hey, Lisa, can you, welcome her in? And Lisa's like, yeah, come on in. And, they might give them the resources and tell them a great place they can sit and kind of just give them a lay of the land. All right. Ask them why they enroll. Okay. Why are you here? Why did you enroll? Why are you here today? This will give you insight as to why they decided to, take the steps to get where they are in that moment. And this also helps you understand what their why is and what motivates them. You might need to pull that information out of your arsenal whenever they start talking negative and start giving you that information of, I think I might want to quit or something like that. Okay. Remind newcomers that they are exactly where they need to be at that moment. So, what I mean by that, they might start going down this path where they say, oh, I've been out of school for 10 years, 15 years. You know what? Stop them from that path. Say, you know what? It doesn't matter. You're here now. So, kind of stop that in its tracks. So, try to shift their thinking from the negative to the positive. All right. So the numbers. What about the numbers? So a lot of folks, and I apologize, I wanted my alarm is going off. Give me one moment. Sorry about that. All right. So, what about the numbers? So, some folks are just, you know what? I don't want them to get too comfortable, right? I don't want them to be too cozy. I want them to get in and get out. If you treat them that way, like they're just a number, they'll feel it. They'll feel pressured to hurry up. And if you're just gonna, kind of give them a book and, okay, sit down, here's a book, here's a page, here's that program, and you kind of treat them that way without creating that atmosphere, you're going to end up with possible scenarios where the motivation and engagement are just, they're low. All right. You're going to have a higher dropout rate. So if your mindset and your focus is to, get them in and get them out for numbers sake, just to, get those gains. If you have a high dropout rate, you're not getting the gains anyway. So, and I look at hospitality and customer service as like a return on investment. You will get a high return on investment if you put forth that greater effort. and you will automatically get the gains. You will get the number of graduates because of this extra step that you're taking. If you worry and focus on the numbers, you may end up with low retention rates, right? They don't stay. They kind of come, they go, they come, they go. I don't know if you have students, but uh, there are some that kind of know the system. They know that if they come on that 6th day, right, just enough to not fall off the roster, you'll start to have that scenario when they don't really want to be there. They're just trying to not fall off or get withdrawn. So when you provide that hospitality and that customer service, you'll have greater attendance. And we know studies show that the higher the attendance rate, the greater the success rates, the more likely they are to get that diploma, to get those scores, to get those gains and certifications, and get that outcome that, we hope that they'll receive when they register. You don't want to have a negative impact on those learning outcomes, and you don't want to have a poor reputation as an institution. Listen, students talk. They will tell their friends, families, the neighbor, the guy at the grocery store, the Uber driver. They will tell everybody that your school or your institution is just not a nice place to be. And you don't want to have that reputation. On the other hand, if you do well to provide that customer service and that hospitality, the feedback and the word of mouth is, oh yeah, that's the place. Oh, that's the place that helped me get my credential. That's the place I got my certification. That's that place with that nice, cool teacher. That's the place with that person that helped me. Oh, the person in the office is so nice and they're so funny. See, that's the reputation that you want to have, the one where they want to be there and they want to tell all of their friends and their family, especially once they hit their success. All right, because I guarantee they're talking about you. They're talking about you. So the question is, what is the talk, right? They're spilling the tea. And what's the tea? Is it the positive or is it the negative? And we're hoping for the positive, the positive words, right? I want you guys to do a little exercise with me, okay? It's going to feel weird, but trust the process, okay? I want you guys to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Everybody, I mean it. Close your eyes, okay? And I want you to listen to the sound of the music. And I want you to listen to the sound of my voice. And I want you to imagine. Close your eyes. One day, you open up a text message, and it's from your very best friend on the planet who you haven't seen in over a year. It's good news. They're finally getting married, and they want to stand by your side. But guess what? The wedding is in 3 weeks. Now you are on a hunt, the perfect ensemble. You want to look your best as you stand beside your best friend's side as they make their vows to their life mate. So you go out and you look high, you look low. Everywhere you go, you just cannot find right. It doesn't fit, it's not color, it's too expensive. You want to give up, you're frustrated, but you don't want to let your friend down. Across the street, there's a shop, and you tell yourself, I'm going to give this shot one more chance. I'm and hope that they have just what I'm looking for. If not, I just won't be by your side and I may give up. So you walk in, you look around, and there it is. It's perfect. It's the right color. It's the right size. But you don't see the tag. So you look around. Here's the sales associate. You're so excited. You found the perfect outfit. You walk up to the associate. You look them in the eye with the outfit in hand. And you say, excuse me, how much is this outfit? And they say to you, don't you see the price on the tag? Wow. Wow. Do you see how you felt in that moment? You were so excited. You had almost given up and you found the perfect outfit. And you thought, this is it. All I got to do is pay for it and stand by my friend's side. And that associate was rude to you. They lack customer service. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Not only did you put the outfit back on the rack, but you walked out the store and swore you are never going to return to that store. This can happen to some of our students. If we do not give them customer service, we may lose them and they may not come back, even though they were so motivated, even though they were on the brink of giving up and they thought they had finally found the right place, but they met the wrong customer service associate and it completely just killed it for them. I hope you guys understand. I saw a little laughter there, and I hope you guys got the feeling that I was going for, because it really does kind of take your breath away when you're in such a good mood and someone kills it and ruins it for you with their negativity and their bad attitude. And it's possible they had a bad day. But we have to keep in mind that sometimes our students are having an even worse day. So we have to take a deep breath. We have to swallow it. And then we have to project that which we would want for ourselves, right? We don't want to get someone who's going to have a bad attitude with us. Okay. So with that in mind, watch your tone. Okay. It is how you say what you say. Okay. You have to learn to vary the pitch of your voice, the tone, and even the volume to convey emotion, to emphasize points in your lessons, and to maintain student interest. If they get bored, it's because maybe you have a monotone voice, maybe you're not varying your pitch, maybe your volume is too low. All of those types of things can definitely encourage engagement, and even just the way you speak to them. I'll tell you a really interesting story. My daughter, I have 3 kids, all right, and I said my 3 kids, right. And, we were at church one Sunday, and after church, there is this lady who, she sells like snacks. She has like this like storehouse in the back of her trunk. And so my daughter, Maya, wanted a honey bun, and the honey buns were, I believe, $1, something like that. And so she's like, we're after church, and she's like, mom, can I get $1? I want a honey bun. And I'm like, no, I cooked dinner. I want you to go home and we're going to have dinner. You don't need a honey bun. And she's like, mom, please, can I have a honey bun? And I'm like, no, you cannot have a honey bun today. I got you one last Sunday. You don't need one this Sunday. And so another lady overheard the conversation. And I think she might have assumed that I didn't have the $1. And it wasn't about that. It's that I just didn't want my daughter to have the honey bun that day. I wanted her to go home and eat all of her food. So The lady was being nice, and she had and this is the lady who would bring a lot of the public's donations for me for my coffee table. So she happened to have a box of these like famous Amos cookies. So she goes into her trunk and she's like, she tells my daughter, she's like, come over, I might have something for you. She's so excited. She's like, come over, I might have something for you. So my daughter is like, my daughter's thinking she's going to give her the dollar, right? So my daughter follows her over to her car, and she like, she digs into the trunk and everything. And my daughter's, she's like, ooh, 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 ooh. And the lady like pulls out this bag of famous Amos chocolate chip cookies, and she gives it to my daughter. And my daughter looks at the cookies and she's like, thank you. And the lady is like, well, pick your lip up and go on and go home. And so it was, the words were thank you, but my daughter's tone was so ungrateful. And I was like, excuse me, young lady, how dare you embarrass me, right? So you see how tone matters. It is about how you say what you say. So in your mind, you don't think you said something mean or rude, but the way you said it may have come off as really kind of harsh. All right. So we kind of have to be mindful of that because it can sometimes come off as abrasive or offensive. But we also need to watch out for other things like body language, eye contact, even gestures, right? Hand gestures are okay. All right. They provide motion, right? They draw a person's attention and their eyes, even posture and things like this. When you're standing like this, right? And your eyes are like this. And it doesn't matter what you're saying, when your face is like this, it projects the wrong message. So you have to control your facial expressions, even when students are talking to you, even when they're saying things that you may not be 100% agreeing with. You got to control your expressions on your face because it can kind of rub them the wrong way. So just be mindful of those things. Watch your tone, watch your volume, watch your the pitch, watch your body gestures, your body language, even the posture of your body, and even your facial expressions. Okay. All right. This is where we get to have a little bit of fun. This is where I need you guys to go over to your chat box. All right. I want you guys to go over to your chat box. All right. If you are in your chat box, all right. I see you there, Catherine. Now, yes, I'm glad you got the feeling there. All right. Go to your chat box, and we're going to do a little bit of a little game, all right, that I call Watch Your Tone. All right. And I want you to kind of think for a moment before you respond. Okay. So the rules of the game are this. I want you guys to think of a one line phrase that can sound positive with the right tone or negative with the wrong tone. It would be the same one phrase that will sound either positive or negative depending upon how you say it. For example, look at your hair. Look at your hair. Okay. All right. You guys got 30 seconds, and I want you to think about it for a moment and then type your short one line phrase in the chat box. Time starts now. Time's up. I love it, love it, love it. Did everybody get a chance to post your expression in the chat box? All right. Now, oh, I like that one, Jerry. I like that. I love that one. I love it. All right, I'm going to read some of them, and I hope I express it the way you were thinking it. I really wished I was able to get you guys to verbally be able to chime in with your own voice, but I will do my best to try to read these with the expression I think you were going with for the positive and the negative. But by the way, before I read those, give you guys just an extra second to add your phrase in the chat box. This little timer, I am big on timers in my classroom. Everything I do, there is a timer projected up because students need to learn that life has deadlines, right? We need to get it done in a timely manner. And of course, every exam that they take will be a timed test. So they just need to learn to deal with the pressure and also activate that internal clock to know when they are taking too long to get a task completed. All right. All right, let's do it. Let's see what we got. Okay, here we go. All right, Lori. All right. Is that what you're wearing? Is that what you're wearing? Okay. All right. Get out of here. Get out of here. I love it. Okay. All right, Catherine. Oh, wow. I'm so glad you're here today. Oh, wow. I'm so glad you're here today. Look who is in class today. Look who's in class today. What is that? What is that? That's an interesting approach. That is an interesting approach. All right, you guys, you see how tone can play a major part in how we say what we say. It is not just what we say, it is how we say it. So we can go from something being offensive to being funny to being enthusiastic to being just downright rude. Okay. And it all depends on how you, I love it, Jerry. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? I could go on and on with that one, Jerry. That's so fun. I love get out of here. Okay, that is hilarious, you guys. Some great expressions, but tone and even volume, right? Am I yelling? All right, am I too loud? Or am I really mild and gentle, right? Even the word stop, right? There's a difference between stop and stop, right? The tone, the volume, the pitch, all of it matters and it all becomes perceived different ways depending on how we do it. You guys, I appreciate you. You guys, you guys are the best sessions ever. All right. Let's look at a scenario. All right, let's look at John. All right, let me check my time because I'm having fun here. And you know what they say about fun. When you're having fun, time flies. All right, okay, I'm doing okay. All right, so let's look at John's story. John, a 24-year-old student, felt unwelcome in his GED course to Miss Miller's rude attitude. This led John to skip classes and avoid participation, resulting in a negative experience. After discussing his concerns with the student advisor, Ms. Lee, she spoke with Ms. Miller about the importance of being approachable and showing genuine interest in student success. Ms. Miller took this to heart and began greeting students warmly, learning their names and encouraging open communication. John noticed the positive change and started attending classes regularly. He felt valued and supported, which boosted his participation and grades. By the end of the term, John had regained his enthusiasm and confidence thanks to the welcoming atmosphere created by Ms. Miller. In the chat box, I want you guys to respond to this question. What could possibly happen if Miss Miller didn't have a change of heart? What if Miss Miller didn't really care about the advisor's advice. What could have happened if she hadn't had that change of heart? Okay. Drop out. Possibly John could have dropped out. Okay. Because he's already what? Avoiding participating. He's skipping classes, right? So eventually he may get withdrawn. All right. He would have, so Yolanda says John would have dropped out and not gotten his GED. That would have been bad. And at the end of the day, that would have really hurt John. And it's possible because he's 24, he's younger, he may not truly understand the value of having the diploma at this point. The younger students may not really get the full value of the diploma at the younger, especially 16 and 17-year-olds. They're really quick to just stop disengaging. All right. Jerry says his life will not get better. All right. He's turned off by it. All right. Lashing out. Okay. Lashing out. Negative behaviors, possibly. Maybe instead of being in class, John is hanging out, outside and possibly getting into trouble. Maybe, John is now, doing things on campus and sitting out and just lollygagging instead of being productive and getting those gains and learning that information that the teacher is sharing in the classroom. Okay. Be approachable and engage the students. This would help in a scenario like John's, making eye contact when you talk to your students. All right. Don't talk to them, but you're looking away. That's a lack of engagement. That's a lack of connection, right? It shows a lack of friendliness and involvement. Weave relatable stories into your lessons. You guys have probably heard several stories, including the one about my daughter. All right. They make whatever skill you're teaching. I don't care if it's math or science or reading or language. It makes the content memorable. You guys are going to remember, right, the story of the person walking in to get that outfit for the wedding. If you don't remember nothing else about this session, you're going to remember the stories that I told during this session because they stick. All right. Anecdotes really, really work. And that's why I use a lot of them throughout my lessons and during the classes. Encourage questions. All right. Provide thoughtful responses and enhance participation. And use polls and surveys to get students' opinions. Let them know that their feedback matters. Don't make it seem as though you're the ultimate authority and what they think and how they feel doesn't matter. If you give that I'm the boss kind of vibe, and just do as I say kind of vibe, you may lose them. All right. Promote that engagement. Make them feel as though they are heard and that you are there to listen and to help them and guide them. Because remember, it's not just about the numbers, right? Let me tell you why you don't want to focus on just the numbers. Because the numbers, they connect to the mind, right? And the downside of just connecting with the mind is that the mind changes. 1 minute, the student is excited to be there. The next minute, they're not excited. They've lost motivation. They're tired. They're sleepy. There's something going on at their home. There's drama at the house. Maybe they're having an argument with their significant other. Their mind is going to change. But if you connect to their heart, the heart lingers, the heart holds, and the heart actually makes the body do what the mind is saying otherwise. So while the mind is saying, I can't do this, I'm tired, I don't want to be here, the heart says, you need this, stay, you need to be here, finish this. And this is where you come behind. Remember I said, ask them why they're there. This is where you come with the why. If you have their heart in your hand, then what's going to happen just before they're about to quit, they're going to come tell you because you're approachable. And when they say, listen, teacher, I can't do this. See, now you have a chance to reel them back in before they ever walked away. But if you're not approachable, you have no idea that today was their last day. They just didn't tell you. And then a few days later, you wonder, well, where's John? Where's Susie? They left and they didn't tell you they were leaving. But if you have that atmosphere and that connection with them, if you have their heart, they're going to come and they're going to say, listen, I don't think I could do this. And this is where you throw on your coach and motivation hat and you're like, nope, we're not today. We're following through. Remember that thing you said on day one, why you started? No, you need to achieve that. And I'm not going to let you quit. See, this is where you can have that conversation. And this is going to delay. I said, listen, you don't have to quit this week. Think about it next week. Think about it next week. And the next week, next week, right? And before you know it, they're done.